Good evening. We'd like to open our meeting and call to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to turn our meeting over to the solicitor.
You're falling over.
I-
There we go. First things first. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our August 27th, 2024 hearing. The board met in executive session prior to this evening's hearings to discuss questions of law related and receive legal advice related to this evening's applications and pending litigation. A couple of announcements. The first is the application 7-2 of 24 related to 601 Morgan Avenue that was announced as a continuance at last month's meeting. It has been withdrawn. So if anybody happens to be here for 7-2 of 24 at 601 Morgan, that application has been withdrawn and will not be considered by the board. Also, planning ahead, in case anybody here is a regular to our meetings, looking forward to the month of November. The board will be moving its monthly meeting from Tuesday, November 26th to Monday, November 18th, which will impact any submission timelines. So please coordinate with our zoning official as to when those deadlines will be for the November hearing. Finally, for meeting procedures, if anybody here is not an applicant or a witness of an applicant or an attorney of an applicant, there are two ways to participate in this evening's hearings. I don't think there's going to be that much of it based on the crowd we have, but I'll do it anyway. The first is public comment. At the end of each application, we'll give an opportunity for statements in support or in opposition to the relief being requested by the applicant. So we'll give you that opportunity. If you feel that you are particularly affected by an application due to a certain interest you hold or your proximity to the subject property, at the beginning of each application, I will look for people who are requesting party status. Party status is an elevated level of participation in these hearings that will afford you the right to question the applicant and their witnesses, present evidence and testimony of your own, receive a copy of the board's written decision once it's issued, and if you disagree with the board's decision, take an appeal to the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas. If you anticipate requesting party status, up on the front table next to the agendas are a request form that we ask you to fill out completely, including an email address, so that you're prepared when I do make that request. That is for the board's record keeping and also our ability to get in touch with you with those copies of the written decision and any future communications. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Let's begin with application 7-5 of 24, Angelina Corrales, 215 Huntley Road in Upper Darby. It's in the R3 Residential District, 7th Council District. A variance from section 55039C2 to permit a fence height of 8 feet in the front yard where 4 feet is permitted. A variance from section 55039D to permit the unfinished side of the fence or side with posts to be facing the neighboring properties where the code requires the finished side of the fence to be facing away from the dwelling.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening. So I'm representing my mother. Okay, so we've been having.
Just a
Manny
second.
Corrales. Manny Corrales, Karalis.
All right, just a second, Mr. Corrales. Is there anybody present this evening looking for party status for this application? Seeing none, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be proof of publication. Mr. Corrales, your mother is the owner of the property?
Yes.
Are you a co-owner? Do you have any?
I'm her son. She doesn't speak English. So, my attorney had an emergency situation. His mother's in the hospital, so he wasn't able to, attend. So.
All right, do you have any, I hate to make this
The
difficult,
deed,
I'm sorry.
everything, yeah.
Do you have do you have a power attorney or any other type of authorization for your mother?
Yes.
Okay, so if needed, you would be able to provide that to the
Yes,
zone?
yes,
Just-
my.
Just wait till I finish
Oh,
asking so
okay.
that the court reporter can,
Okay.
she
yeah,
can't write down for both of us talking at the same time.
Okay.
She has 2 ears, but she only can listen to one person. So you'll be able to provide that if we need it. Okay. Then we're going to have you sworn, even though you are representing the witness, or the applicant, but we'll have you sworn nonetheless, and then you can proceed to tell us why you're requesting the relief.
You raise your right hand, please. You swear or
Yes. Okay, so like I said, my attorney wasn't able to attend this. He had an emergency situation. But in this, we've been having these neighbors next door that I had to build up a big fence 8 feet high because they have 3 dogs that been defecating, urinating, and I have these pictures on my phone if you need to see them because my attorney was going to bring them. So this been going on for a couple years, so one way I had to do this is to prevent that, smell and toxicity that's going on. It's saturated into the concrete, into the groundwater, and they will be taking these dogs out like 3, 4 times a day, urinating, defecating, going back inside. So after the repetitiveness of this situation, it's it's so toxic and the smell, and I've been sending pictures to Josh, and they're in also violation of township, like the zoning 222-22, and this is a nuisance, so this is gonna be going to court. So that's why I had to build this, to kind of protect the smell, but when it's hot and it's windy, the smell just keeps on coming over. At least you don't see them to be able, I mean, so disgusting. If you need to see pictures, I have them on my phone. Does anybody want to see them?
What are the pictures depicting?
Of the pictures of the dogs, of what's happening. I could come up there. I
Are,
mean,
are the dogs doing their business on your
Their
mother's property or on their own property?
their own property.
So this is a mitigation measure for the visual impact and the scent.
Yeah, and there's so much infestation of flies because what has happened is this stuff is saturated into the concrete. You have to really demolish the whole thing if you want to do it right. Because they made holes into the concrete, so it goes into the groundwater, and then the wall, like I said, I have the picture if you want to see it. When they wash down that, it comes out, and all the saturation and the stains of the urine just is on the wall.
Is the board interested in seeing the pictures?
He was gonna have it blown up because it's like I said, here's the dogs here. I have, if you want to see it, just.
So if you can bring up your phone and show the board, but I will ask if you can send them to Mr. Chass so that we have.
Make sure you send me a specific one
Yeah,
that you're sending.
yeah. So
Yes.
here's the dogs here, okay.
Just
This been
make sure you
going
show
on,
them.
like, this been going on like,
Can you
2,
tap
3,
it?
4
Tap it, it's fading.
I'll show you the walls, I have plenty of pictures, but he was, like I said, it was amazing.
So I'm just going to ask you to keep your voice up because
Oh, okay.
the court reporter is still going to have to get it down. And for the purpose of the record, we'll mark all photographs collectively as A1.
But Josh, like I said, he has, did you need to see the walls to kind of know what's going on? When they hose this down, this is what happens, and I'll show you our property. So this is one of the pictures, like, that, the saturation, okay? Okay, so this is.
Okay, just one more then.
So this is our house, and why I had to do this, this is our house, and this is their house. And look at the saturation of the wall. So when they hose it down, all that urine just, and it's a health hazard, it's a health issue. and, you know, to the public, and there's also, you know.
Has everybody seen what they need from the pictures? Okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay, Mr.
again,
Corrales, if you can go back up to the
yeah,
microphone.
so, you know, if I knew this situation before I consulted an attorney, we would have gone to court straight to media. But I did that to protect, I thought I would give these guys a chance, but no matter following many complaints to the township, they haven't really resolved the problem. And they themselves told me to take them to court. So my attorney filed the paperwork, so we're just waiting for their response because they have to pay for the damages that these dogs cause. So then afterwards, you know, whatever, if they don't, we're just gonna go to media. So it's in process.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Corrales?
Two quick questions. I guess my first question is, why didn't you build the fence 4 feet?
Because if you build the fence, you're not doing anything. You're not that, like, you'll see the people right there and it's gross, okay? And it's like this high. By building it higher, I thought it prevents some of the toxicity and the smell, the higher you go up. If you left it 4 feet, you didn't do anything. So at least I would say it detects 70% of the smell. But not even on that, we have a closed porch, and when it's like hot and, you know, it's saturated into the ground, we have a closed porch. Our porch smells from urine, from that heat and the, you know, the urine, it just comes inside. So it wouldn't have done anything, and then the flies are like all over it.
And I guess part two of that question is, once you determined, I guess in your opinion, that it needed to be higher than 4 feet, why didn't you come get a variance
Yeah,
before
I
you
didn't
built
know that you
it?
had to do that. I didn't know that you had to. And I told that to Josh. I didn't know that you had to do that. That was just, I made that rational decision. And, you know, last hearing, our neighbors across the street had the same issue. So you got to understand, when the wind blows, this is so contaminated that it goes all over across the street. And he had the same issue, you know, the other guy that was last here. Is,
I have a question.
Mhm.
You say you want an 8-foot fence? Why 8 foot?
I didn't want 8 foot. I just thought the highest that you could have, you know, that what's the highest a fence could be built. So I thought it's better to do it this way to detect, because another thing is they have these dogs on their patio. So besides the urine and the toxicity and all that contamination, you have the same thing on the porch. It smells.
Well, the fence won't keep out smell.
Yeah, I know I did a mistake. I didn't think that it would, you know, like I said, if I knew of the law before, we would have gone to court. And I never would have even spent money on a fence or had to go through this whole aggravation, basically.
So do you plan on keeping the fence?
Yes,
Let's
I
say
mean,
get-
you know, for them for number one, is just like the other guy, he's not tearing it down. The smell's there. The whole thing has to be demolished. So if you take that, you know, fence down, you have contaminated soil, contaminated concrete. That's not going away till it's demolished.
So, Mr. Corrales, so the fence that's currently there is that 8 feet?
Yes.
That's currently 8 feet. And if you put a 4-foot fence there, would the dogs jump up on the fence?
Yes, they have multiple times.
Okay,
You know, these dogs, and even like I said, we're gonna present that in court. Their like railing is not even equipped for these dogs. They could jump over the railings and bite people. So if you did it 4 feet, they're like vicious dogs. They'll jump right over you. They have tried to attack multiple people that have like been on, you know, crossing their sidewalk. So, yes.
okay.
Any further questions from the board?
No further question.
Madam Chair, would you like to ask for public comment?
Is there any public comment? Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Let us know for the record, there was no public comment.
There is no public comment.
Oh.
Oh,
That's fine.
okay, for the record. I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to ask for a motion.
I mean, you can make one if you're going to make a motion.
I
That's
was
fine.
going to.
And then,
I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
I will,
is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
no,
Motion
Alright.
passes 2-1. Mr. Corrales, you'll receive a written decision within 45 days of this evening. And would you mind just writing your name and your email address on one of those party status forms so that I have it? Thank you.
Okay,
I-
okay, our next application is 8-1 of 24. Madeline Corona, 720 Westland Lane in Alton, PA. It's an R2 residential district in the second council district, seeking a variance from section 550-39 D9 to permit the unfinished side of the fence or side with posts to be facing the neighboring properties where the finished side is required to be facing away from the dwelling. Hi.
Hi, are you Madeline?
Yes.
Or Ms. Corona?
Yes.
Just 1 second, we'll get started. Is there anyone present this evening who would like to request party status for this application? Seeing none, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be proof of publication. Ms. Corona, if you can just express to the board what you're seeking and the justification for it.
I'm seeking for my fences to remain.
No, she's the applicant in this situation, so we're okay.
I'm requesting for my fences to remain as they are right now. I'm super nervous. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I've never done this before.
These are just your neighbors, so there's no need to be particularly nervous. So just
Okay.
take a deep breath and just let us know what the situation is. So you have an existing fence.
Mhm.
Why is that existing fence there? Why is it set up the way it is?
Okay. It was just what is it called? I'm sorry. We had a fence before, but the fences were like super old, so we just replaced them. It was a replacement. And we decided to put them like the nice side fencing our property, our way. And the reason is because my neighbor, he likes to let stuff grow on our fences. That's why we had to replace them, because part of them have fell down due to his plants or whatever he has growing on them. I have pictures of everything. So, yeah. Me and my husband did try to flip them. But once we got to his fences, it was like impossible for us to screw it in, and the fences wasn't fitting, and all the vines and stuff that he has growing on our fences already. So, yeah.
So the neighbor you're saying who with the growth vegetation,
Mhm.
where is that neighbor located in relation to your house?
He's behind my house.
Are you saying that does the entirety of the fence all face inward? Is it only a portion of the fence
No,
that
it's-
faces?
It's like, can I show you pictures? Because I don't know how to explain it.
Sure. So, or hold on, just a second. We'll get to pictures. So, is your property in the middle of the block,
No, it's a corner property.
corner property?
Yeah.
And so, where is the fence located on your property? Is it in the front yard, backyard, side yard?
Backyard. It's my backyard.
Your backyard.
Yeah.
Does it face? Can you see it from the street?
The part that has to be.
So just the entire fence. Can you
Yeah,
see it?
you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
The portion. Are the portions that you can see from the street? What does the public see on the portions you can see from the street? Do they see the nice side? Do they see the side with the posts?
Well, one part is correct, where they see, you know, the nice side. And then the one where, I share with my neighbor,
The property line?
yeah, is, the nice side is facing our backyard.
Okay, so if you're on a corner lot, I'm assuming the fence connects to your house then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the portions that face your front yard and face the side yard or the side street, they are all both correct?
Yeah.
So it's only the side along your rear property line
And
that's
then the other
incorrect?
side, because my neighbor has fences up, so there was no other, my side neighbor, he has fences, so there was no way of us screwing our fences in with his fences.
So basically, 2 out of the 4 sides are correct?
Yeah,
And the sides along your common property line are backwards?
yeah.
And you replaced an existing fence because it was dilapidated?
Mm-hmm.
And just make sure you say yes or no.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's just for Bridget's benefit. And when did you do the work?
It was, I have it here. It was April 10th, I believe,
Okay, sometime in April.
that week, yeah.
And when did you learn that your fence,
Yeah, this year, I didn't know that I needed a permit because I had called before, months prior, to see if I needed a permit, and they had told me no. I guess it wasn't, the law wasn't passed yet, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can clarify. So I don't remember the exact date, but I believe it was sometime in 2022 when we approved the fence permit law. So had you asked a couple months before,
Yeah,
the answer would have been no, but then past that date, the answer was yes.
well, we're talking 2 years.
Yeah.
Right, because the fence permit thing went into effect in 2022,
Yeah, give her, yeah, around there.
2024.
I got my fences done 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, April 2023.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification. And how did you, did Josh or someone else from code enforcement?
And no, I had a little argument with my neighbor because I tried to tell him, your stuff is growing on my fences again. Can you please trim it?
Okay,
And he had like a whole hissy fit. And I had spoke to one of my neighbors, and that's how I was told that about the permit.
um. Are there pictures that you did want to show with the board?
Mhm.
Okay, so you can come up with the board, but I'm going to ask that maybe before you leave tonight or sometime tonight, you send those pictures to Josh.
Okay.
And we'll mark them as collectively as A1, but if you want to show us ones on your phone now, we can look at them.
Okay.
But you do need to send them so we have them for our records, okay? The board wants to take a look?
Yes.
Let's show the ones that are the most important.
This is the one.
There's the stuff there.
That's his backyard, so those trees and stuff growing on my fences. And then that's the other side right here. And then that's where, cause look, those are all his things going on my fences. And
So
then,
there is one fence there. He doesn't have a fence and you don't have a fence and they
he
don't
has
butt.
like a little bit of a fence. It's like a chain link
You can
fence.
show him the picture.
Let's make sure we show all the board members the same pictures.
Right.
And I have the other one on the other side. Oh, look, those are his fences right there. So it's like impossible for us to,
Oh, I
you
don't
know,
see it.
put
I
the-
just see the new one. Okay. Oh, I see.
oh, right
That's
here, it's the
rusted.
red,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, it's rusted, okay.
Just make sure everybody sees this.
Did you make the fence or put the fences up yourself, or did you have a company do it?
No, my brother-in-law did it. And then the other side. Oh my God, I took so many pictures, I'm sorry. Okay, and this is the other side, where my neighbor has fences, so it's like impossible
Okay.
for us to,
That's why.
yeah.
Thank you.
So if you can just send them, like I said, send them to Josh. Ms. Corona,
more
is there
questions?
anything else you wanted to mention to the board?
No.
Okay. Is there other questions from the board?
No questions? Is there any public comment? Okay,
Seeing none.
seeing none. I'd like to ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance the variance application.
Can I,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, your application's been approved.
Thank
And you
you.
will get
Have a good night.
Have you
a
received
notice.
a written decision within 45 days of tonight?
Okay, thank you so much.
Right.
Thank
I
you.
can leave now?
Send those pictures.
All right.
Send the
thank
pictures.
you.
After that, you can leave. Okay, our next application is 8/2 of 24. Rupsana Parveen, 506 Larchwood Avenue in Upper Darby, PA, R3 Residential District. It's in the 5th Council District, seeking a variance from Section 550-44C1 to permit a 20-foot by 12-foot patio in the front yard setback where a maximum of 10 feet encroachment is permitted.
Ms. Parveen?
Yes, hi for everybody. My name is Sana Parveen.
Is there anybody present this evening seeking party status for this application? Right. Seeing none, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application packet, ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. Ms. Parveen, if you can state for the board what you're looking to do and why you need to do it, where you want to do it, but just make sure that you speak clearly and into the microphone so that we can hear you.
Okay. So I only, this concrete, this violation, we don't know that before. So this concrete is my garden, my kids gonna fly, nobody got a park, nothing. I have 4 kids and this just sit down and this kids gonna fly in the garden. So this is a half, the concrete half in a garden. So I just keep it, I don't wanna,
Okay, so you're looking to put a patio in your front yard,
yes.
and it's next to your driveway?
It's already existing.
that what it
Next
is?
to my driveway.
And
Oh, everything is, this is a little bit, not a whole garden, is half, just no place, and the kids just sit there sometimes outside.
you're saying it's about half of your front yard?
Yeah,
Okay. And is it already existing? Is it already there?
they already 4 years ago. So I don't know the before valuation, I don't know.
It was when it was 4 years ago?
Yeah,
Was it before you purchased the house?
no, this is, my husband buy this house, but we got a single mother.
I'm sorry, can you say
I'm
that again?
single mother.
You're a single mother. Okay. So was the patio there before you purchased the house?
No, this, my husband is 4 years ago, when I buy, no look like this.
It did not look like that when you purchased the
This
patio?
will look like garden, but when you know place and the kids gonna sit down outside, then they do it.
So you put in the patio,
But my husband do it,
your husband put in the patio
yeah,
while you were the owner of the property
yeah,
4 years ago?
yeah, 4 years ago.
And the reason you want it is to give a place for your children to play.
Children sit down, children play over there, but this doing house, no place, that's only fun garden, fun side place.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
I show you picture, no
You
problem.
have
I have a picture.
Okay, can I ask a question? I think the last statement you made was she doesn't want them to play. Is that what you said?
No, kids sometimes sit and sometimes the and the toys look like this. I have 4 kids.
Right, and you're saying, are you saying that the children play on the concrete? On the patio?
Sometimes we sit too. Sometimes in a chair outside.
Or they'll sit, yes,
Yeah.
play or sit?
Yeah.
And the concrete comes all the way to the curb where people walk by?
No, no, no. The walk-on is separate. I show you picture. This is
Okay,
separate.
Okay, okay,
This is a twin house. No, not a lot of big. I show you the picture, and then you get idea.
okay, we want to make sure the pictures you show us, you send to Josh?
I
while you're-
sent it Josh. Yeah.
you did?
Josh helped me.
Okay, okay. Can we see?
Okay. Thank you. You want to see
No,
the picture?
We want to
Yes, we
see.
want to see the pictures, yes.
What place over there? See what place?
Yes, that's what I thought, okay.
Yeah, what place
Yes.
separate? That's sometimes we see my kids see. That's it. This is
Okay.
a little bit place.
Okay, can you show it to them as well?
These guys.
Thank you,
This is nothing have nobody problem.
yes.
If you problem, so I got 4 kids. How we get to work? The parking lot over there. Parking lot is separate.
Right, driveway,
And I keep it in the garden too. Garden is separate.
yes,
Mike,
okay.
I'll wait till she gets
Yeah,
back.
you can go back up to the podium.
Thank you. You didn't see that, did you?
I did.
Oh, you did.
Well-
No,
Nope.
no,
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 no.
you can stand right there.
You say your husband put this in 4 years ago.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of his putting it in?
But my neighbor is the work in his construction, but he got die. He got cancer. He got die. He got I think so 50 house. His die is 2000 2000 I think so 23 1 years ago. His name is Joss.
Did he one time use it as a parking lot?
No parking lot no fix. The no fix. Parking lot is separate.
I know the
That-
driveway's separate.
The driveway is separate. Driveway in the side. This is the garden.
Can't have a garden with.
Yeah, I show you the another picture. This is garden.
I think it's by garden, she means front yard.
I know.
This is the parking. Parking is separate. This is garden.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
It's about 8 foot wide.
this is what fully separate.
I think the diagram submitted with the application says it's 12 feet. 12 by 20, which I understand your concern, Mr. Gwynn.
So it's been there for 4 years? Are you saying
4
4 or
years ago,
40?
yeah, 4 years ago.
4?
4 years ago. No.
Was this is a result of enforcement action?
Yes, this is a result of enforcement action, along with 3 others on that block.
The same issue?
Yes. But those were all for originally parking, right? It gets a little messy with the other 3 that we don't need to get into, but, right, I believe when we originally talked about the application, you said that you were not interested in using it for parking. You just wanted it as a patio, correct?
I want to keep it.
For playing and sitting and whatnot.
How thick is the concrete that was poured there? Is it capable of supporting a vehicle on it?
I have no idea. I'm
Do you
not-
know?
Yeah,
Miss-
I don't know.
So, depending on what the board wants to do, it would always be appropriate, or it would be appropriate in this situation if the board is inclined to approve the application to attach a condition that it's not used for parking, which would provide the code enforcement office the opportunity to enforce that provision as a zoning violation.
That's acceptable to me.
That's acceptable.
Thank you.
Any further
Thank you.
questions from the board?
Questions? Is there any public comment? Being no public comment, I would like to make a motion to approve the application with the condition that there will not be any parking on the concrete patio at any time, ever.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
You've been approved, and you will receive a written document stating the approval in 45 days. It's okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 8324 Gwendolyn and Richardson, 27 East Township Line Road, for Darby, C1 Commercial District in the 4th Council District, seeking a variance from Section 558A to permit a dwelling unit and a variance from Section 558B to permit more than one permitted principal use.
Is Ms. Richardson here?
Okay.
Okay. We'll put it on the table for the time being, and just in case Ms. Richardson shows up before we adjourn for the evening, and then we can dispense with it at that point.
All right, we'll move along to 8424 Amnion Crisis. Good night. Amnion Crisis Pregnancy Center, 2247 through 2251 Garrett Road in Upper Darby, PA, C1 Commercial District in the 3rd Council District. Seeking a variance from Section 55020 to permit an impervious coverage of 85.05% where the maximum coverage of 80% is permitted.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Michael Hawley, and I represent Amnion in this application. Hawley.
All right, Mr. Hawley, before we begin, is there anybody present this evening who is seeking party status for this application? Seeing none, the board will mark the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application packet, ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. Mr. Hawley, if you want to proceed.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I will be brief. This is an application seeking a slight increase in the allowable impervious coverage. The reason for this, as stated in the application, is that in the parking area for this building, there is some asphalt paving, but the rear portion of the building is also a public right-of-way, and there's a significant amount of traffic that passes through there on a regular basis because there are other businesses, operations, offices, things of that nature directly in that line of structures along Garrett Road, just a few blocks down from here. So what we're asking for is the ability to pave an area 3 foot by 45 foot, which would extend the paved surface, would facilitate a safer and more accessible parking area, would also provide safer means of transit for various vehicles that traverse the right-of-way that I've spoken of, because there's a number of occupational and other businesses in that area that receive deliveries, pickups, things of that nature. So overall, the improvement would facilitate an accommodation for public safety overall. It's not an excessive increase in the amount of impervious coverage, and virtually all of the other businesses in the area have impervious coverage of about the same amount. It's also important, I think, to note that there's a large part of this property overall that is comprised of impervious coverage that is concrete, asphalt, things of that nature, that Amnion, the building owner, has no control whatsoever over. So this is one thing that they can do to improve the accessibility and the safety of the overall premises. If the board has specific questions about the plan or the reasoning behind it, I have a representative of Amnion who is present here in the chamber who could and would address any questions that the board may have as to specifics of this intended project. I would note that unlike some of the other things you folks have already heard this evening, this is not something that's already done. They've done everything right from the very beginning. They've made the application, they've engaged my services, and there is what I would suggest is a valid and compelling reason for this intended variation. And for those reasons, we would request that the application be approved by the board.
Mr. Hawley, it's generally our practice that if the application is unopposed, we are fine with having a representative adopt your representations as an offer of proof and not having to ask them separate questions. If you'd like to do that, we can put that on the record.
Yes, I would ask that that be done, that,
Can we just have that representative come forward then, and we'll have them
Yes.
sworn in?
this is James Hall, Hall.
Can you raise your hand? Can you raise your hand? Do you swear or affirm?
I do,
So, Mr. Hall, you heard your attorney's statements before the board,
yes.
and do you believe them to be true and accurate to your knowledge? Okay. Do you have, and would you adopt them as your own?
Yes,
Do you have anything else you'd like to add in addition to your attorney's statements?
I do not. I think you did a good representation of the situation.
Okay. Then we'll open it up for board questions for Mr. Hall.
I have two questions. They're kind of related. They're just clarification questions. So for the extension of the pavement, do you plan on cutting down any of the trees or vegetation that currently border the property?
Yes, I don't believe that any trees are involved. The trees are farther up the embankment.
Okay.
It's basically mulch and undergrowth that needs to be removed to go back 3 feet.
Okay. My other question is not, I wouldn't say it's the most important of questions, but it's just a general question. Well, actually, no, I guess it's not that important, but it is related to SEPTA, who's doing a lot of railroad work. And especially if you're adding, well, my question was more so about the vegetation, but if there's no vegetation, then I don't think it's necessarily relevant. But are you doing anything as it relates to stormwater management, specifically to help with erosion?
We are not, other than the area that we are going into slopes up toward the SEPTA right away. The slope is not really significant. It's probably less than 1 foot over the 3 feet that we're going back, but it will necessitate building a short wall there that I anticipate being like stacked pavers type of wall.
Okay, and then I guess you have any consideration of doing anything that's like, so are you planning to just do like straight concrete? Are you considering doing possibly like pavers or something that has like pervious surfaces to allow for some drainage?
The area that we have now is macadam, and the public right-of-way, or the part that is now used for transportation that separates our building from our parking area is concrete.
Okay.
I anticipate doing one or the other, and it depends what contracts we get and what the price difference is between concrete and macadam, but I anticipate it being one or the other.
So I just wanted to make sure I want to orient myself a bit. Where the impervious surface that would be extending would be towards I guess the rail line?
Yes,
Okay, so essentially, I guess, the vertical parking spaces would be pushed for, the 3 feet you were referencing is 3 feet away from the building towards the rail line to line up with the adjacent, I guess, properties or businesses? Because it's like an uneven line there, right? I'm
that's
trying to-
correct.
Okay,
Yeah, the parking spaces are perpendicular to the railroad tracks,
got it, okay,
and they will just be extended back 3 feet.
okay. If you were approved for the variance and you were able to extend it, would that 3 feet line you up with the adjacent properties, or would you be further?
We would be further than one adjacent property and not as far as another adjacent property. The property to the west goes back a full car length deeper than we go.
That's to the west, across the drive aisle you're talking about?
Yes,
Okay, got it.
the property to the east of us, their parking spaces are currently in line with ours.
I did see it, there was a telephone pole back there. Have you made, how you going to be around it, or how are you safeguarding that pole?
I anticipate that parking space itself, that one space, which is 9 by 18, will stay right where it is. And then there are 5 additional parking spaces that are currently 9 by 18. Those 5 will be moved back 3 feet, but the one will stay where it is.
And is it of your opinion that should you have this additional space, it would facilitate easier circulation of that rear area?
Yes, sir.
That was going to be, I'll piggyback, Steve. I wanted to know, so I noticed you're on the corner, and on the corner of that row, there's an opening or breezeway.
Yes.
And is that a street or is it just a breezeway? Because it looks like, I can't tell if
I'm
it's
not sure what to
blacktop.
call it. It
Right,
is-
okay.
It's unnamed. I
Right.
believe I could answer that, Madam Chair. It's a dedicated alley within Upper Darby, but it's got no name designation.
Okay,
So
okay,
it is a means of vehicular and pedestrian access.
right, just the access road.
You won't find it as a dedicated street, even though Upper Darby will not, the township is not responsible for snow removal maintenance and things like that.
Okay, so my question was going to be around the parking spaces that you're going to be making modifications to. That breezeway, does it impact that anyway, in any way? And do you plan on doing anything with that? But I hear it doesn't belong to the township, it doesn't belong to you all, it's just an access road.
The only thing that I would anticipate doing to that is, as I say, that portion is concrete. And
Mhm.
our parking area, I'm not sure what to call it. It used to be macadam. It's probably been 30 or 40 years since it was paved, and it's now potholes and just a lot of
Mhm.
ankle-turning
Indentations.
territory.
Right,
There's one pock mark in the concrete where vehicles drive, and it really needs to have something done to level it out. It's only maybe an inch and a half deep, but that's the only thing that I would anticipate doing to the actual
okay,
driving
that's,
surface.
okay.
Would it be correct to say that you'll be responsible for all the maintenance and cleaning of that area, removal of snow and whatever?
Yes, sir. I'm not certain how that happens now, actually. I'll need to check on that, but we do it currently, I'm
Would-
sure. I believe that we pay for someone who comes in and plows our, there's also an alley that's
continuous with this on the side of the building as well as the one in the back. And our sidewalks are all under contract and will continue to do that.
That was my next question. So is there a contract in place where everyone contributes for the plowing and, because all the businesses are accessing it from the back? Right? I
can't
know they
say-
can access it on the street because there's meter parking there as well, but
I can't speak to what that contract is. I believe it's an
There is,
agreement
okay.
that each of the businesses
Okay,
along there
okay,
contributes, but I don't know what
okay.
the mechanism is to do that.
just curious. Okay. Okay.
So
Oh,
that's
my-
part of your deed then of the land.
Yes.
Any more questions?
No.
Is there any public comment? Okay, for the record, there's no public comment. I would like to ask for a motion.
Second,
Make a motion to approve the variance.
Now you can-
now I can second it, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You've been approved and you will receive a notice in the mail within 45 days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Okay. 8/5 of 24. I'm just gonna say first name because I don't wanna mess it up. John H. and Joe U.A. 7032 Garrett Road, Upper Darby, PA. It's a C3 commercial district in the 7th Council, seeking a variance from section 558B to permit 3 permitted principal uses where only 1 permitted principal use is permitted.
Right. Is there anybody present this evening who is seeking party status for application 8/5 of 24? Did you fill out the form, sir? Okay. You can come up here. So while we're setting up, the board will place the following exhibits on the record. ZHB1 will be the application packet. ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB.
We can share. Go ahead.
I don't, you don't need it? The court reporter doesn't need it? I'll still use them for our formal records. Sir, can you please introduce yourself for the record, please?
Good evening. My name is Lee Stival, Stivale, Supreme Court ID 465.
Sir, so we've received a request for party status from Mr. Villa, who has an address of 33 Garrett Road, which is directly across the street from the subject property. So is my recommendation to the board that we grant party status to Mr. Villa. Is there any questions you would like to ask Mr. Villa?
What his relationship is with the property across the street?
What's your relationship with the property across the street? Do you live or own? Okay. All right. So,
Carlos Villa.
is there any objection for the board to grant Mr. Villa party status? All
No
right.
objection from the applicant.
So we'll do this the same as last time. So did you just wait until I bring you in? All right, Mr. I'm sorry, can you pronounce your name again?
Well, it's Stival.
Stival. Okay, Mr. Stival, floor is yours.
If the board please, again, my name is Lee Stival. I represent the applicant I've handed a folder of exhibits. I will identify those for the court reporter. Did you identify the board exhibit, sir?
Yes, we have.
Thank you. I have Exhibit A1, which duplicates a board exhibit. That's the application. Exhibit A2 is the deed of the subject property. The deed is dated November 14, 2002. The grantee is 7032-36 Garrett Road LLC, is the current fee owner of the property. There's a series of photographs. Exhibit A3 is a photograph, and again, my client can lay a foundation if needed with these photographs. This photograph of Garrett Road was taken at 8 a.m. on approximately July 16th, 2024. A4, again, another photograph of Garrett Road, 8 a.m., July 16th, 2024. A15, which is a photograph at approximately 6:15 on July 16th. Again, another vista of Garrett Road in the proximity of the property. Exhibit A6, again, 6:15 on July 16th. A7, similarly, another photograph on July 16th at 6:15 on Garrett Road. A8 is an aerial of the neighborhood. You will see that the subject's property is notated with an asterisk. The property is situated facing on two streets, Garrett Road and Ludlow Street. There is parking on each elevation. There's parking on two sides of Garrett Road. There's parking on one side of Ludlow Street, which is parallel parking. There's also parking for a bank in the rear. Exhibit A9 are similar photos, but of the Ludlow Street area. You'll see the first two photographs are of the Ludlow Street facing, I guess that would be northeast. Again, the subject building has an asterisk on it for location of the first photo and the second photo. Exhibit A10 is the contrapositive or the opposite view along Ludlow Street. The subject building, again, has an asterisk. This demonstrates the location of the building, the points of ingress and egress in the building on Ludlow Street as well, as including the parallel parking. If my client were to testify about the photos, he would indicate that those photos accurately depict the condition of the property in its current condition. Exhibit A11 is a footprint of the proposed improvements of the use, the subject restaurant in the basement. It shows location of seating facilities, a bar area, prep area, utility rooms, and a kitchen. With that in mind, we have a building which has been there for quite some time. I probably estimate more than about 100 years. Interesting with this building, it has 3 floors of approximately 5,000 square feet. Each floor is an independent, discrete area of the building, which it has its own points of ingress and egress. Each floor has its own HVAC, its water supply, electric. Each floor historically has been used for, again, 3 discrete users. Since 2002, the applicant has used the property as a medical facility. The basement, prior to acquisition, was used for heavy equipment, storage, and I guess maybe some type of repair service. The 3rd floor was an unrelated user. The 3rd floor was, my client can describe much better than I, it was dealt with printing and photography. Since 2002, because of economic issues, and the building just has not been leased. We're fortunate to have a user for the basement in terms of a restaurant use. What is the benefit of a restaurant use to Garrett Road? It means vibrant economic use, employment, visitation to the area. I'll ask my client to assist me in terms of answering a few questions relative to this application for a variance. We're only seeking one variance. That's under section 550-8, which provides that you'll have one principal use per parcel. And again, this building structurally has been established for many, many decades for 3 discrete users. We just have not had 3 discrete users for the last 22 years. Angelo? I also have the operator here, John. Good evening, sir. Could you give your name and notice address for the board?
Yes, Angelo Caracassis, Karacasis, and the address, my home address? or
Your
the-
business address.
32 Garrett Road in Upper Darby.
Before we continue, the application is 7032. That's the county and the county designation of the address, but most notably for mailing purposes, it would be 32-36 Garrett Road.
Yeah, the board is aware of the multiple addresses assigned to the property and has taken note of that.
Thank you.
Can we have the witness sworn, please?
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth and whole truth?
Yes, I do.
May I call you John?
Angelo? Yes,
Excuse me, Angelo. What is your occupation, sir?
I'm a chiropractor.
I'm sorry, can you speak
I'm
to
a-
the microphone?
Yes, I am a chiropractor.
And what is your relationship with the property located at 32 Garrett Road?
I own the property.
And could you describe the uses surrounding that property?
You mean the businesses on either side or
Yes,
across
sir.
the street?
Yes.
Yes. Well, there are multiple businesses, commercial. There are multiple daycare facilities. There are restaurants. There used to be a pipe shop. Now it's a convenience store. There's a bank. There's a sign store, a store that manufactures signs right next to me. There is a hair salon and nail salons across the street. There used to be a dentist, which is not, I don't know that it's operating at this point. So there are some apartments on the second floors, or the first floor is a different use, offices and so forth. So there are multi-businesses, the type of businesses on our block.
Could you describe the proposed use for the board?
Yes, so again, we have a basement, a first floor and second floor. They're all 5,000 square feet. Of course, I operate the first floor as a chiropractic office. The basement, I would like it to be a restaurant. And we don't know yet what the second floor is going to be.
And I described for the board the physical layout of the building. Was that an accurate statement of the building and the segregation of the 3 floors?
Yes, that was correct, yes.
And what improvements do you propose for the basement area?
Well, the basement is going to look nice, presentable for a restaurant use. So, tile floors and, painted walls and ceilings and so forth. It's going to look nice with marble countertops and that sort of thing.
The property is zoned C3.
Correct.
And do you have any on-street parking? Off-street parking?
There's parking on the street, meter parking on the street, yeah.
And do you have any ability to establish on-site parking?
No,
All off-street?
correct.
And what relief do you require this evening?
I'm sorry?
What relief? A variance from section 558?
Right, yes.
And was I accurate in terms of my description of the previous uses of the building in terms of the second and the first and the basement?
Yes, you were accurate. The second floor had about 20 dark rooms. They were printing billboard signs. And their printer was about 20 feet wide. That was the use for the second floor. The first floor was some sort of offices, and I don't know what types of offices, but it was multiple cubicles and rooms of offices. And the basement, again, all of these are 16-foot ceilings, except the basement is 13 feet ceilings. They're pretty tall. And the basement had a rail system from the trap door that's on the sidewalk. As soon as you open the trap door, there were two rails coming down to the floor of the basement with a train type scenario where they could, with pulleys, they would lower things, heavy items, down into the basement and store them or repair them. Eventually, at some point, I had that removed, but that, I understand, was the usage of the basement.
Does the limitation of section 550-8 limiting one principal use to this property create a hardship for you?
Well, certainly. I mean, it's, there are three separate spaces. They have their own entrances. They're, separate heaters and air conditioners, separate electric and bathrooms and plumbing and so forth. It certainly would be a burden if I didn't.
You're asking to continue the operation of the building as it has existed historically?
Yes.
Will the proposed restaurant cause any overcrowding of land?
No.
Will the proposed restaurant be consistent with the surrounding zoning and uses?
Yes, of course.
Would be consistent with the similar commercial uses along Garrett Road?
Yes, they already exist.
Is the subject property suitable for the character and intensity of the proposed restaurant use?
Yes.
Will the grant of the variance cause any overcrowding of land or create an undue concentration of population?
No, we are not proposing residential apartments or staying. It's just a restaurant.
Will the grant of a variance in any way adversely affect the public health, safety, or general welfare?
I don't see how. I don't think so.
Will the grant of the variance to section 550-8 be in harmony with the spirit of the proposed zoning code?
Sure. Yes, we would.
In other words, is the suggested use similar to those other uses in the area?
Yes, it is.
Will the proposed use of a restaurant within the existing building in any manner adversely impact the provision of municipal services or facilities?
No, we are not adding any services. They're already there. They've been there.
What about trash? How
Oh,
will trash?
We have a private removal of trash. We have a separate dumpster for the first floor and separate dumpster for the second floor, and they are privately removed by a company.
Now, at another hearing on this matter, this board was understood that there was some disruption on the street after a private gathering. Could you address that?
Yes, I really don't understand what that was. There was probably some sort of an argument at some point outside of the building. I don't know how much of a disturbance it was there. I wasn't there when that happened, but I mean, I heard that there was some sort of an argument.
The restaurant wasn't operating.
No, the restaurant
It
was
was a
not
private
operating.
gathering.
Yes, there was, a private gathering. It was very small.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's all the questions I have of the applicant.
We'll start with questions from the board.
The previous, and council, you can jump in if you are more equipped to answer some of the questions, but the previous uses, I want to make sure that I got that right. You said the basement was used for some sort of storage or some type of equipment. The ground floor was, I guess, the medical office use, and then on the upper or second floor was a printing operation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you know if these were permitted uses?
permitted?
Like approved permitted uses?
We do not know because they predated 2002 of the acquisition. We're aware of those because when the doctor purchased the building, those improvements were there, which had to be removed. And that was part of the general discussion in purchasing the building, what uses had been there.
So it's been, I'm sorry to jump in.
Yep.
So it's been empty or used only for the chiropractic practice since 2002?
That's correct. The first floor is being used for chiropractic practice.
Mr. Arnold, please.
Saying first floor, you mean the
Street
ground
level.
floor?
The street level.
Okay. I just want to make sure you're not.
Yeah. And my understanding, if I can interject, my understanding of the second floor is that the printing, the billboard facility was there for several years. They were the major billboard printer in Philly.
You're saying, I guess, once you acquire the building, you remove those two uses? Or at acquisition, those uses were already vacant?
Right. It was vacant. I did have to do the demolition of all those multiple dark rooms and stuff and opened up the space.
And what was the third floor again?
Print shop. It was for,
Oh, so the print shop had two
no,
floors.
second floor, top floor. The top floor, which is the second floor, was a print shop. Ground level, first floor was an office,
His business.
well, preceding offices. And now it's being used as a medical facility. Basement was used for heavy equipment, storage, and we believe some type of repair function.
Did you, I guess, was it 2002, you said? I guess from 2002 to now, outside of your chiropractor sort of practice or business, was there any other uses in the building?
Sorry, there's something wrong.
Was there any other uses for the other floors, the second or the basement floor?
Actually, no, I didn't have other uses. In fact, I had been offered several times to rent both either the basement or the second
As
floor.
what?
But I had refused because two of my children were going into the medical fields for physical therapy and occupational therapy. And I was envisioning that we would open the second floor and possibly the basement with an elevator and have it as a multi-medical clinic. So I didn't allow other tenants to come in, waiting for that. And then my daughter, who graduated first, got a wonderful job at a place and said, sorry, Dad, I'm not coming in. So for all this time, it sort of waited. And then now my son, who just graduated, also is probably not coming in immediately, at least immediately.
So you've received other offers to rent the other spaces.
Right.
What kind of uses were those?
Well, the second floor, a couple of different things, a gym, an event hall, some other retail, a few were considering a daycare facility, and the same for the basement. So those types of things.
How long have you been the owner?
Well, since 2002.
And so the basement currently, what's there now? Like, what does it look like? I know that, I think you said there was a small event happened there. So is it set up like this diagram here? A restaurant completely, or does it still need renovation?
It's very much ready. There wasn't very much to be done. It's a very large space. It has tile floors, I mean, the ceiling and the walls are painted, lights were put in, so it's in very good condition. It's almost ready to open up and operate as a restaurant. If any improvements, probably be more, decorative improvements. There's no walls or anything else need to be added.
Um, I guess my question is, so you confirm that like basically like the location is already currently set up for restaurants, so it already has like the plumbing, the drainage, all the facilities that you would need, electrical, all of those improvements.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any images of the space as it currently looks?
Yes.
Could you show those to the board?
Yeah, hold on one second. I think I printed it better.
Why are you getting that out? Why is it set up that way? If it was a storage facility previously, and that was the last use?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
If I understand your testimony just now, electrical, plumbing, and all the, I guess, works that you would need for a restaurant is already in place there, is what you're saying?
Yes, electrical and plumbing, they were always there. There was always electricity and plumbing and
Running water, all that,
yes,
bathrooms?
was always in heating and air conditioning, yes. Minor changes in addition, like painting and tiling, part of the floor, that kind of stuff.
The only one I see is a gutted picture.
No, the other.
Is this the second floor or the basement?
This is the second floor, this is the basement.
Okay.
I guess my well, I guess we'll see. We'll see in a few seconds.
Okay. I'm gonna take that. We'll mark this as, where were we? I guess this is A12.
Well, yeah, I think so.
Make sure I get it back. You can go back to the podium. So was renovation work performed to make the basement look the way it does in Exhibit A12?
Tiling, the addition of the chairs, painting, and the addition of that cabinetry in the form of a bar.
The countertop. So that's what I was curious about, the work that was done by you in between it being a storage unit and what it is in that photo. That work was done in hopes of getting the approval to make it a restaurant. Like the cart before the horse.
Some cosmetic, like all the painting and the bar section,
Yeah.
yes, that was added recently, but the rest of it, some work, just like I did work on the second floor where I cleaned up, everything else and put a new floor on it. That was in preparation of having a space. When I had the chance to do those things, I did them so that I would eventually, connect them and get physical therapy and other medical services done. Now, the basement doesn't need a whole lot to turn it into, once it has a nice floor and, you paint the walls, you can paint them anything you want, so it was easy to convert it to anything else. It just needs a nice floor and some, whatever lighting and some.
Would you still have to bring in preparatory equipment like ovens and stoves and refrigeration and things like that?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, you need more than chairs.
Oh, yes, of
Right.
course,
The
obviously.
chairs
but-
in the bar, right.
But as far as the
Yeah.
build out, there's not much to do.
So I guess I'm asking, was your vision to make it a restaurant before you got the permitted use? to, to get the 3?
No, I wasn't thinking of a restaurant before we got to that point. At some point, we decided, okay, I was asked, would you lease it for a restaurant? Since I'm not going to use it for medical purposes, I have no issue doing that. So we did, they did bring some things in, like that bar section, and, the chairs and the tables and some pool tables. Those were brought in, but that was not something I did.
So in the image, you have in the background like like a wall between the kitchen area and a counter. Are you saying that the counter has always existed and that wall partition has always existed, or was improvements made to specifically add the counter?
Oh, that, yeah,
Not the bar, the counter for the kitchen.
right, you're right. The wall, the far wall is separating the electrical panels behind, that was there. So the only change was that opening with the slab of marble on top of it.
Council, the current approved use is for the entire building right now. The single use that's approved is for medical offices.
Yes.
Is that right? You testified earlier that your hope, which I'm sure is common with a lot of parents, was that your kids would follow in your footsteps and you can expand on the other floors. So I guess expand that medical office use essentially, but with your kids' practices. Have you sought out or entertained other medical office uses for those other floors that aren't your kids, I mean? Like-
Actually, I wasn't thinking of other medical uses for it. And in fact, several times I thought that there may be other businesses that either I would be participating in or I would lease it out. But when the interest of the children went in that direction, I dropped those ideas and I waited until thinking that, it would go into a medical use, but it didn't.
So I guess,
I may additionally respond. Even if we made this whole building into a medical suite and we brought in third-party users, you'd still have the principal use issue to deal with on the 3 floors. Because if I brought in on the basement either, just say a dentistry, and on the 3rd floor, maybe we brought in, I don't know, an emergency care, well, you'd still have a principal use, and principal use. Unless you had one singular integrated use, then you wouldn't need the differential between 550 and 550.
Would the
That
use
right? I
not
don't
be a
think-
medical office building at
Right.
that point?
I don't know.
No, because it's a discrete use. If I had 3 restaurants, one on each floor of different types of food, I still have 3 principal uses. There would be discrete uses. Although they may be of the same character, they'd be 3 discrete principal uses.
I think you may be conflating use registration with use of, because if you get and correct me if I'm wrong, or as code official, but my understanding is that if you have an approval for a medical office use for a building, then that use covers the building, and you have different
Not
practices.
on principal use concepts. When you're dealing with principal and accessory. If you're dealing with discrete uses and not just one operator, for instance, you could have Rothman Institute taking up 2-3 floors. It's one user, one principal use. But as soon as I integrate another different user, I have another principal use.
I don't know if I agree with that interpretation.
So if he moved floors tomorrow, he wanted to go from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor, would he have to, in your opinion, would he have to come back for a variance?
Likely. Well, no. Well, for a variance, if I have one singular use and I move it from the 1st to the 2nd floor, no, because I still have one principal use in the building. But as soon as I impose another discrete separate use, that would be another principal use.
You're saying because it's another operator, it's namely another practicing physician or whomever,
Yes,
that constitutes a separate principal use?
yes. That's my view of the world.
One of my question is, are there other properties nearby that have multiple principal uses?
In my understanding, pretty much everyone, almost everyone.
Could you give an example?
Yes, for example, a friend of mine who owned Alpha Billiards about 5 doors up in towards us here from my building. It used to be a billiard shop upstairs, and downstairs it was a daycare. Now, Politis Florist has offices upstairs, who were actually, who actually contacted me first to put their offices on my second floor, and I said no. I was,
Is it,
I'm sorry,
You said no to offices renting the second floor?
I'm sorry.
You said, I just want to make sure I heard what you said. You said no to offices renting the second floor. Is that what you just?
Yes, I refused because I was holding it for my daughter. So I didn't want to tie it up. So there are other buildings, like I said, multiple of them have multiple uses.
and I guess my question is like, currently with the space that you have allocated in this building with these 3 floors, like you can't move your practice into all 3 currently.
No, it's too huge. I mean, even at the ground floor that I am now, it's 5,000 square feet. There's very few practices in the country that are 5,000 square feet, chiropractic practices.
Okay.
I mean, I have a successful practice, but it's still very large. There are spaces that I don't use. You know,
And then this is just a general question. Why particularly the basement for the restaurant? So, I mean, you have a second floor, for example. Like why the basement specifically compared to the second floor?
because of the way it looked, it was, it looked good enough that needed very little, it changed very little input to turn it into a restaurant, the type of restaurant that they are looking to operate. And I guess it was maybe more economical too, of course, because it's slightly smaller than the second floor. The second floor is all 5,000 square feet, but the basement is under 4.
How much? Basement is how much?
The total is 5,000, but because we have allowed space for the boilers on the front, on the gutter road, and on the Ludlow side, we have allowed about a 10-foot space for all the electrical equipment and so forth, and space for people that need to maybe work on them. So the wall is 10 feet away from the end of the building, so it is smaller than the 5,000 square feet.
And what type of egress is there from the basement?
Front and back, there are stairs that go upstairs.
So if you go out the basement, the restaurant from the basement, you're on the street?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You go up the steps into the street.
To Ludlow and Garrett.
Wait, so you go up the steps to the
Yes.
first floor and you're on the street?
It's one flight of steps to the street.
Now, what about if you're down in the basement in the restaurant, how do you get out if there's an emergency?
That's what I mean. If you're in the basement,
You have to go up a flight.
you go
Oh,
up the
so
steps.
there's no egress from the basement level?
Well, the basement's below the
Right, yeah, I know.
program.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to just have you confirm. Okay.
Is there any ventilation? Any special ventilation for the downstairs
There,
basement?
yeah, there's air conditioning and heating already central
No, I think he
in the
means
basement.
ventilation, like exhaust out. Like if you have a kitchen or something like that, you know, they have those industrial or commercial hoods that need to exhaust somewhere.
Well, for
know.
a kitchen, of course,
Or-
there would have to be, a direct
Coming up?
ventilation to it.
Are they coming out your front door?
Oh, no. It is possible, there's space to put it right through to the, out towards Ludlow.
And out. Up and
Yeah.
out, right?
Above street, above,
Yes.
roof level.
Yes, because it's 13 feet high. It's a very tall basement, so if you run it through, it goes out to the street.
No handicap accessibility, though?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. How would you, how would there be?
We have to, we will be engaging an engineer, because we have to be L&I compliant.
You guys plan to follow all of the fire code and building code, and if, obviously, if you're required to make additional improvements or fixes to the property in order for it to be operated as a restaurant, you're willing and understand that you'll take on all of those expenses.
That is correct.
Okay.
Currently, I guess with your practice there, how many sort of, I guess I'll call it visitors, how many sort of people, I guess, visit the building a day, would you say? If you had to give an average.
Oh, I know exactly the average.
Okay, that's even better.
Right. So between 55 and 70 a day for the last 22 years, 23 years. And they don't all come at the same time. That's over between 9 in the morning and about 6 o'clock in the evening. So you get about 5 to 6 an hour.
How many therapists do you have?
Well, there are 2 doctors and 2 chiropractic assistants, 2 therapists.
And how many do you expect to have in the other floors of your facility, specifically down to the basement?
Yeah, I think that the total number of employees that would be in the basement in the restaurant would be somewhere between 5 and 7.
I'm sorry, 5 or 7
I
people?
have the operator here.
Oh, no, I think he said employees. You said employees, right?
Employees, people. Now, are you talking about patrons, like
Yeah.
customers?
Your occupancy.
Yeah, the occupancy of the restaurant. I have the operator here.
My understanding is that it would be just about 15 to 20 people at a time, and then maybe turning over 2 or 3 times for dinner.
Would you agree, though, that this proposed use is I guess in the sense of pedestrian traffic, or I guess a vehicle traffic as well, is a higher impact use than what would you say, or storage and a printing press or printing facility?
Yeah.
I would say, from my perspective in doing this, the printing is probably equal
To the restaurant?
impactful as the restaurant, because you have folks coming and going at high traffic volume times, operating all day long. A restaurant really kicks in 6 o'clock on, 5:30, 5:45, 6 o'clock, when most of the other businesses are shutting and closing, such as the daycare and things like that. So as you can see with our photographs, early in the morning, there's no one there. In the evenings, again, very few people consuming parking. And the medical facility, again, shuts down towards 5 o'clock. There's no demand for parking with the medical facility, and that's when the restaurant would kick in to bring in patrons.
So I on this like kind of line of thinking, specifically with the restaurants in the C3 district, you said that it's gonna be a full service sit down restaurant, like they'll have like full service of food, etc. It'll be a sit down restaurant.
Yes, I
Okay.
suspect so, yeah.
And I guess my follow-up question is, so the building that you currently occupy is, you said three floors, 5,000 feet each, so about 1,500 square feet.
Total.
Would it be possible to operate a restaurant over 3 floors and 1,500 square feet if that was its only principal use?
No,
Yeah, 15,000, that's what I meant.
15,000 square foot restaurant?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's my question.
You know, I would love to own a 15,000 square foot restaurant. I don't think I know of one.
So your testimony is basically, if any restaurant was to ever operate in this property, it would have to be split, use-wise.
Yes, it wouldn't, yes.
Okay, because it's so big. Thank you.
Any other board questions at this time? Oh, don't worry, I'll give you a second chance if you need it. All right, Mr. Villa, do you have any questions for the owner of the property? Just a reminder, this is questions. I'll give you an opportunity later to make statements.
Do you know what kind of food they're gonna sell?
Not certain what types of food they have discussed, some type, possibly some Greek type of food and some other recipes maybe. I'm not really sure what the types of food will be.
Thank you.
Are they gonna sell liquor on the? Are they gonna sell liquor on on the restaurant?
Right now, no, there's no.
So what was the idea to put a bar and a restaurant?
Just for people sitting around, there's a TV, they're watching TV, there's pool tables
I mean,
there.
why they have a light ball, disco ball in the ceiling? I don't see restaurants with lights like a discotheque. I mean, what was the idea?
I don't know what the, the decoration is about. I know that there was a private party. Maybe that's what they did it for.
It's kind of interesting restaurant. I mean, with a lot of.
Just
Nice.
questions.
Okay.
Just questions right now.
Sir,
All right.
I think I missed the last, you said you don't intend to sell alcohol at the restaurant? Was it?
Right now, we don't have an application pending at all with the Liquor Control Board seeking to buy one. That may be in the future,
At this point, I
Right now
think it's a
it would be
BYOB.
BYOB, but liquor licenses, they're about 300,000 right
Yep.
now. It'd be quite a nut. We'd have to see an experience to see if it would work. That would be an R license.
There's no intent to use
Hold on.
any,
We're still in, Mr. I don't mean to cut you off, Mr. Gwynn. Just want to try to keep a train of thought here. Do you have other questions,
Yeah,
Mr. Villa?
Doctor, are you aware, I mean, there being events and parties going on in the last few months?
Well, that there was one Greek party that I was in. It was by invitation only. It was a bunch of friends. I was there at that, and I know that there was another, again, private event that they invited friends, and it was there. There was not multiple. I'm aware of two.
Okay, so you know where, there was, I mean, so you know where about the advertising and the social media about the parties that is going on over there?
So you're saying that there are parties going on
Yes,
now?
in the last few months, it's
Last
being
few
a
months,
party,
there
yeah.
were
Like in
multiple-
May, April, they have different parties,
There were multiple parties, are you saying?
yes, and the basement.
More than how many?
I will say like, that I know, that I see in social media, I have proofs over here,
Yes.
I would say like 5, 6 parties.
I'm not aware of that.
Yes, I have in my phone, social media.
I'm not, like I said,
Yeah,
I'm aware of two.
That's fine.
And they were both private.
It's okay, that's it.
Any other, no more questions. Okay, Mr. Quinn, did you have another question?
I did. There is no intent to have any bongs or hashish or hookah?
You know, that didn't even cross my preparation on this. No.
Thank you.
You need a special filtration system for those.
As it relates to, like, I know you're the property owner, not necessarily the operator, but as it relates to a restaurant, is the restaurant going to have private events, et cetera, like birthday parties, et cetera, or is it just like full service restaurant? I don't know if that's a question for you necessarily.
hold on. No. He's not sworn. So if you want to call him as a witness next, if you don't know the answer to the question, then you don't know, and then we can go to
We do
a
that.
different
We have
witness.
the operator, if we can have the operator
Okay.
sworn in.
Is there any
Okay.
other questions for this witness?
No.
Okay.
John
Thank you,
has-
sir.
has it, Counsel?
You want to call your next witness then?
John?
Sir, you can sit down. We can have,
Hazakis, yeah.
Hazakis.
John Hazakis, Hazakis.
we have,
Can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth?
Yes. So if I have a reservation for a party, birthday party, yes, I'm going to have a birthday party, yes.
Like, obviously, I know this will be handled by like the LNI and code when they do the use and occupancy, if we get to that point. But do you have an idea of like what your business operating capacity will be? Like, say, like you had a birthday party, how many people you would allow in the space?
No,
You have no, okay.
somebody book a party, I don't know how many people, maybe 10, 8, I don't know. 12,
Okay.
I don't know.
sorry, when you say book, oh, sorry, go ahead. I thought you were done. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You could finish.
No, I'm done.
Oh, okay. When you say book a party, are you talking about private events?
Well, there is a restaurant, and they want to have a party, birthday party, and they want to have reindeer. Like my daughter's birthday, she's 16, and she wants to have a party. She's going to have reindeers. They're going to eat. They're going to have a party, birthday party. I'm not going to say no to that.
Do you have questions that that you want to ask this witness in particular?
The board might have had.
Okay, I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to put on before we went into full board questions, so.
So addressing that question, that answer, if it's a restaurant and you're giving your daughter a party, can people still
I'll
come?
give that as an example, my daughter.
No, yeah, or anyone having a party. It's not a private party. Can patrons still come in and eat?
Who?
Can other people?
Can-
Oh, yeah,
Come into the
yeah,
restaurant.
yeah. They
Okay.
reserve a table.
They reserve
For
a
the
table,
party,
not a
yeah.
space.
Do they have to bring a
Okay.
gift?
I guess, I don't know. If
Okay. And your hours of operation, again, I know it was mentioned last time.
There was a question about the liquor license. Any liquor license now?
No only license now, but if we find one and we have money, we're gonna get one.
What are your hours of operation?
Thank you, Mr.
We think it to open up at 2 in the afternoon to 1 o'clock in the morning. Then
So on that point, I mean, I don't know. So if your current plans are to operate from 2 PM to 1 AM,
Uh-huh.
do you plan on still like serving food? Because you don't have a liquor license, you can't serve any alcohol, so you plan on
Yes.
doing full food service all the way until 1 AM.
Yes.
It's a BYOB.
So, if you're gonna operate a BYOB, how do you plan to ensure that you don't have underage drinking at your premises?
That's not on a plan yet, you know what I mean? We think to do that after we open the restaurant. So there is no plan for that yet. Have no plan. I mean, we're gonna do it, but not in the beginning, you know what I mean? So.
Sorry, say that again? Can you say that again, please?
I think there's a misunderstanding as the import of the question and the answer. This gentleman said, if someone bring wine to the restaurant, BYOB,
Yes.
how do you know they're gonna be of age, that they're gonna be 21 years or
They're
older?
gonna have to be checked.
Checked.
Yes. If they bring wine, yes.
Like a license,
Oh, yes,
Like ID, okay,
ID.
I did.
thank you. Okay, so this is another question, just because I'm looking at like, the picture and the drawing. So since you don't have a liquor license currently, what is the purpose for the bar itself? For food service.
Counter.
It's just a counter.
The counter. If you go to diners, because I used to own diners, Hotspot Diner in Worcester Pike.
Ah, okay. I got
right?
you.
We always have a counter for the customers, for the coffee, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other board questions? Mr. Villa, do you have questions for Mr. Gonzalez?
I mean, like I told the last time, I mean, it looks like they trying to open the restaurant just to cover up everything and then start selling alcohol, making a speakeasy like they used to be doing. I mean, I
Sorry,
have
is that a
proofs.
question?
Is it just questions?
Oh, okay. So he's saying, I mean, he's going to be open until 2 o'clock in the morning. You're going to still selling food until,
Oh,
sorry, 1
yeah.
o'clock in the morning?
Yes. Yes. The Hotspot Diner in Worcester Pike, I had it 24 hours, 7 days.
Okay. And you don't know what kind of food you're going to sell yet?
Mix.
Mix.
Greek food, Spanish food, mix. Soups, I make all that. I'm a chef.
Okay. No more questions.
Any more questions for this witness? All right, thank you. So I'm going to give Mr. Villa, do you have any other witnesses that you want to present?
I would move for admission of exhibits A1 through A11,
I think it's A12.
A12.
Yes.
And I would ask the applicant to confirm those statements that I made as being true and accurate.
Sir.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Villa, once council has an opportunity to gather his things, if you want to come up to the podium and make any statements.
Okay, the idea to have I mean, they asking for the zoning for the restaurant and everything. I mean, I have no problem if they can open a restaurant, but I mean, looks like it's just something that they want to do just to cover up and operate I speak easy like they've been doing all these months. I have proofs and evidence, the advertising, the social media and everything. And like the last time when we were here, the last meeting, I mean, there was, I mean, a lot of police around the place and everything. They've been checking the place because a lot of fights, people getting drunk, getting out 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, minor kids drinking. I mean, I've been operating, I have a bar and a restaurant across the street, and I have 6 bouncers on Saturday night, and we can see the people getting in and out from the back door, from the front door, young kids. I mean, and Garden Road wasn't like that. Now in the nighttime, nobody can walk around 2, 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, bottles all over the street. It's like, I mean, they don't have a liquor license, first of all, and they selling alcohol. That's illegal. Okay, and I see it, and a lot of people see that. Okay, so they trying to get, I mean, the zoning to operate these illegal places. Okay, and I mean, I'll be there every week. I'll be there for so many years. My wife has a restaurant for 15 years across the street. And we see it every morning, bottles of beer and everywhere. Okay, fights in the nighttime, Saturday night, and the police is aware of all that. That's all I can say. I mean, like, it's going to be a shame if something like that is going to be allowed to operate there.
Mr. Stavel, do you have any questions for Mr. Villa?
Is it Villa? Villa. Villa.
Yeah.
Mr. Villa, do you have, did you bring with you a copy of a police report for any incident that you?
Honestly, I didn't went to the police, I don't have any,
Hold
but,
on, please speak into the microphone. We can't hear you.
no, I don't have any police reports or anything because, I mean, it's things that I see it.
Do you have any copies of any code enforcement citations with respect to this littering or this continuous mess that you're discussing? Do you have any photographs of the
I
condition?
have photographs of the advertising at different
No,
months.
sir. My question is, do you have any photographs of the conditions that you were saying? Bottles on the ground, all over the place?
To be honest with you, I received this denial letter on the 23, I received on Saturday, and I thought there was
Objection
denial.
non-responsive.
No, I'm gonna
I
respond to your
asked the
question.
gentleman.
I just telling you
Objection
what happened.
non-responsive. I asked the gentleman if
can-
he had any
I didn't,
photographs.
there was a
So,
short
Mr.
time.
Villa, can you answer the question about the photographs?
I don't have any photographs because there was a short time. I just find out there was a meeting today, this
Okay,
afternoon,
Understood.
Thank you, that's all I have.
okay?
Are there any board questions for Mr. Villa?
No.
Could I, show us the advertisements you're referring to?
Excuse me?
Oh,
My
Yeah,
client is,
I have it in the phone.
my client would like the opportunity to make one statement with respect to the conditions that Mr. Villas testified to.
All right, I think we're still on Mr. Villa and we'll give you the opportunity for rebuttal. Can you show these to applicant's counsel first?
Here is one. You can see the date. And this is the other one.
Can you go back, sir? Do you have an English translation?
Well, this is in Spanish because
That's not the place.
it is the place.
No, it's not, sir. Look at the,
Look at the address, 32 Garden Road. That's how they advertise.
Mr. Villas, one momento.
Show him.
Venga aquí.
32 Garden Road. Okay.
So what do you?
See, there was on
Right.
May, and they have another group. They say over here, 32 Garden Road, inviting the people.
Okay, so I see
This
that,
is April,
right?
so this is what is going on your basement.
They, well, but these people came in and actually performed? There was an actual party? Or was it just,
Yeah.
Well,
it-
I-
it's not address.
yes?
We're off the record at the moment, so
It's illegal thing.
we want to look at it to determine whether they're going to object to it, we'll allow it. So do you have any objection to this
No
before?
objection to it
Okay.
in publishing
All right, so
photos to the board.
So we'll you can just show it to the board. We're gonna mark this as
This is
V.
the bottom, 32 Garden Road, $50.
Intervenor 1, I1,
And
V1.
E1.
this one is on.
You see it?
And this.
Okay. And just as a reminder, if you didn't hear me say it before, we'll need you to send those to Josh. Okay, just make sure you email them to him, those two images. Any other questions for Mr. Villa?
I have a question.
Well, you have an attorney, so.
That's what you say.
We okay then? All right. So Mr. Villa, you have nothing else, so you'll rest. You can take a seat.
Thank you.
And so, Mr.
I would request my
Stivel, you can
client-
present your client as a limited rebuttal.
Statement of a condition of the property, a refuse on the ground.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we must all be aware of the bar that's 2 doors down from my building. It used to be called Brownies, now it's a different name. It's a bar. The bottles in the street of the bottles at my front door on a daily basis for the last 20 years. Broken bottles, and all kinds of other trash are a daily finding. And many times a week, I clean up before I go in and open my doors. I clean up the sidewalk from broken bottles. I park my car right outside. I have to sometimes I have to clean the bottles so I can park the car so I don't, my tires don't break bottles as I park. So this is not from what's happening in the basement. The basement didn't cause all these bottles. They've been there for many years, and if you're familiar with the area, you would know. Any morning, you get there at 7 o'clock before the cleanup truck comes around and cleans the streets. If you get there at 7 o'clock, you'll see it every day. So it's not that we didn't cause that. It's a daily finding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a need for any brief summation? Are you fine with the
We're
rest
good,
of it?
thank you.
All right.
Executive session?
Is there any public comment? Okay, there being none, we're going to take a brief executive session break.
Thank you.
So, the board has come to a point where they feel that they need some more time to make a decision on this application. So the board would like to defer its vote until our September hearing. Um, Along with that, the request is, will the applicant grant additional time after the vote for the preparation of the written decision once we come down to that?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to ask that on the record, are you amenable to granting the 45 days after we take the vote?
Well, yes, you would accord the applicant with a written decision within a few days. But are you referring to your opinion?
Our opinion. So we always provide a notice of decision, a one-day letter, if you will, directly after the vote. But in order to prepare the written findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the order, I'd ask for 45 days from when the vote is taken.
That is fine.
Okay. So that is where we'll leave it with the applicant's consent. We're going to recess this hearing for this evening and resume for a vote at the September hearing.
Thank you very much.
What's the date? Do we know the date of the September hearing? I should put that on the record. It is September 24th. September 24th at 7 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
So, Madam Chair, it's come to.
Thank you.
Okay. It's come to our attention from the zoning officer that the applicant for 8-3 of 24 for 27 East Township Line Road is here. Ma'am, is that you? Are you Ms. Richardson? I think we already read it into the record. You don't need us to read the notice again. Okay. Ms. Richardson, can I just a preliminary question. Are you an owner of the property?
No, they are my parents. They're in the process of doing that, putting me either on the deed or I'm actually in the will already to get the property.
Understood.
But they're in the process of that, but I don't know. She doesn't think it's going through yet.
And you're not a tenant either?
No,
technically?
I'm just their daughter and a realtor.
Okay. So, since you're not an owner, you personally don't have standing and cannot represent other individuals before the board. With that understanding, we would like to continue this to the next hearing to afford, I guess, your parents, well, either a change of status on your part in the next 30 days or the opportunity for your parents to appear or for them to retain counsel to represent them if they can't appear
Okay,
themselves.
so her question was, they don't come out of the house much. They're in their mid-80s.
Okay.
Is there any way they can do it remotely?
We don't have, I don't believe we have the capabilities to do a remote appearance for someone. We just have the ability to televise our meetings. It sounds so old saying that, but broadcast our meetings over YouTube. It would either have to be hiring an attorney or once the change in ownership status has gone through and reflects you on either the deed or some type of other authorization. Would you have a power of attorney, or if they want to execute a limited power of attorney for you to take care of this, we can consider that at that time.
Okay. And then her last question was, is it always this late?
Well, you were third on the agenda. It
they
is.
have
It
day
is. It's, we
jobs.
always convene at 7 p.m.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay. So what is 30 days enough if we bring you back on September 24th?
It's
Okay.
actually too much, but yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
We just have to follow
We could do the
our
power of
procedures.
attorney or something like that.
So we'll continue this hearing, application 8-3 of 24 to September 24th at 7 p.m. And if you can provide it in advance, we appreciate it. The power of attorney to Mr. Chast, or bring it with you on the 24th.
Okay. And the last question was, dang, I forgot what it was. Oh, do we need pictures of stuff?
Pictures are always welcomed by the board. They're not required, but they are certainly welcomed. And if you can have them printed out, that is the best way to go about it and our preferred way.
Okay,
You can also email anything that you want to put before the board to Mr. Chast, and he'll provide it to us in our file.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson.
Moving on to application 8-6 of 24, Khalid Ahmed Hassan, 6778 Marshall Road in Upper Darby. It's an R3 residential district in the 6th Council District. Interpretation that the existing commercial use of a dry cleaning facility is illegally, I'm so sorry, existing non-conforming use which may be continued through a change of use to a convenience store. In the alternative, A, variance from section 558A to permit convenience store in the R3 residential district. B, variance from section 55033 for relief from the off-street parking requirements for a convenience store. And C, variance from section 55049 for relief from landscaping and buffering requirements.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. Mr. Long?
No,
No.
actually, I'm pinch hitting tonight.
Okay.
I drew the short straw. My name is Matthew Danucci. I'm also from Belvoir Kelly. I'm Mr. Long's partner.
Do you have a card, Mr.
I do.
Danucci?
And I've provided one.
All right, Mr. Danucci, before we go any further, I don't think there is, but is there anyone, just for the record's purposes, is there anyone present who is requesting party status for this application? Seeing none, the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be the proof of publication. And Mr. Danucci, as you may have heard me say earlier, since this is an uncontested application, the board's practice is to allow you to do an offer of proof in order to streamline this, if you so choose. We just ask that your representative confirm that under oath.
Yes. I am all for streamlining anything that can be streamlined at this point. When would you like me to, can I make my offer of proof and then we'll have him
Absolutely.
verify? Is that
Yes.
acceptable? All right, so if I could, the subject property is located at 6778 Marshall Road in Upper Darby, PA. The owners, the record owners, are Rashid Zia and Hamdan Mohammed. They recently acquired the property, I believe, within the last couple of months. The property is presently, or was up until very recently, operating as a dry cleaning and laundromat service. And it's my understanding, through research done by Mr. Chast that was provided to us, that it's been operating as a laundromat and dry cleaner since 1972. So to make this application, I really believe we're proceeding under A as opposed to in the alternative. I really think that what we're asking for is to continue the use of a pre-existing non-conforming business. As I stated, based on what Mr. Chast was able to provide for us, we have documentation showing that there was an exception to permit a construction of a warehouse with a proposed retail store dating back to 1947. And then we see through the records that were provided to us, it appears that it's been a continuous business use at that location since 1947. 1972, we see the laundromat dry cleaner opening, and it's been that since now. I would also like to make very clear at the outset that there was an intention at some point in the beginning from my client to operate a smoke shop / convenience store. That is no longer the plan. There will be no request for smoke shop of any kind. This is strictly to be a convenience store located at that property. And I can have him testify, but my understanding is that his intention is to sell juices, beverages, snacks. He talked about some limited apparel, T-shirts, hats, things of that nature. He's also planning on fixing cell phone screens. at the store. He has a couple of other retail establishments in Delaware County. He intends to operate, I guess, in a similar fashion as those other stores, with the exception that he does own a smoke shop at another location. But again, this is not going to be a smoke shop. This is going to be a convenience store. If I could just briefly direct your attention in our packet, which I guess is marked as ZHB1, is that right? Our application packet. There are several exhibits as required. A1 is the lease to the property. The lease began in June of 2024. My client is anxious to get this approval so that he can get the, I guess, requisite improvements made to the inside of the space so he can get the store opened because he is paying rent as of now. Exhibit A2 is just a Delaware County parcel view. It shows the subject property at the corner of Harrison and Marshall Road. Exhibit A3 is some street views. It shows the existing laundromat. That first picture is a shot of the front of the store. There are several parking spaces in front of the property there. There's additionally parking available on street on Harrison. The next picture shows the rear of the store. There is no additional parking to the rear of the store. That parking that you see there belongs to the warehouse that is pictured in that photograph. And then finally, I guess this third view shows that there are other businesses essentially visible from the subject property. At A4, there is a letter indicating the approval of the record owners of the property for Mr. Hussein to operate the store at this location. And then then Exhibit A5 is a township zoning map. And as you can see, the subject property is located relatively close to the C1 district. We don't believe that there would be any harm to the nature or character of the neighborhood by granting of this variance. That's basically all I have.
If you can have your representative come forward, and we'll have him sworn in.
Would you state your name for the ladies and
Khaled,
gentlemen?
Khaled, last name H-U.
I'm sorry, can you spell your first name?
Khaled, last name Husain.
Can you raise your hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Hussein, the things that I've testified to before the board tonight, are they all true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Do the ladies and gentlemen have any additional questions for Mr. Hussein?
And do you adopt your attorney's representations as your own testimony?
Yes.
And do you have anything else you'd like to add? Any board questions?
I just have one thing of confirmation. I know you said it, but I want it further on the record. You will not be using any smoke shops or drug paraphernalia?
No smoke shop, convenience store.
Okay, because several things that are in there had that included.
Again, the original intent was to ask for that, but we are not asking for that, and there's no intention to operate the store.
And it will be struck from the lease then?
It will be.
Yes.
Thank you.
So are there any other factual questions for this witness? Go ahead.
How much parking, let me ask this differently. To your knowledge, how many permitted parking spaces are there now?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, for the customers?
Yeah.
3 to 4 cars.
There's currently 3.
There's 3. I don't want to say 4, but it's 3 to 4.
There's 3.
That can fit on there, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Which
it's-
I get, because I know it's
I'm
I'm
sorry.
familiar with the parcel, and I know it's kind of a weird parking area, but I wasn't sure, I couldn't tell, just from my memory of it, and then looking at the photos, like how many parking spaces are actually provided? Like,
So there's three, there's one for the proprietor between the buildings. I don't know if you can see from that picture, there's a vehicle actually in the parking spot next to the building. It's kind of in a shadow, so you can't really, there might not be a vehicle in there, but right next to if you're looking at the front of the store to the left, there's a parking spot for the proprietor.
Yeah,
okay,
And then directly in front of the store, there's 4 spots.
like 5.
and just to orient myself, when you're saying front, you're talking about the frontage on Marshall?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Looking at the store from Marshall.
Okay, so there's one for the proprietor, and then how many for the customers right now?
4.
4? So far. And what's the relief? How many is the code requiring for the convenience store use?
You know, honestly, yeah. Mr. Chase, do you have that offhand?
Yeah, I can answer. So in this case, right, a dry cleaning business would require 1 space per 250 square feet. And a convenience store would also require 1 space for 250 square feet. So in an instance where a business is changing over and the nonconformity is not growing or it stays the same, we don't require any type of variance or we're not requiring the applicant to adhere to the stricter standard.
So aren't they in compliance now then?
Yeah.
That's, okay, I was because I was looking through the variance request, and I thought there was a variance from parking ratio.
There is, because the change of use.
The
related to
convenience
it.
store requires 1, right, per 250?
That's correct.
What's the square footage of do you know?
You know offhand, what the square foot?
Like about,
1,500 square feet.
But I think my position would be that they would not need parking relief for this because it's the same as the same
the non-conformance for
non-conforming.
parking
Yeah,
has not increased.
it
with
has
the
not
change of
increased
use.
at all. It's staying exactly the same. That would be my take.
I don't know. That,
Legally, a new use would require compliant parking.
right,
So that's why the variance request is there.
okay.
Right.
So the relief.
Even though I understand the zoning officer's position that since the requirement is the same, the impact is no different.
Our code's pretty explicit in the non-conforming section, though.
My question was answered. So I understand what both of you are saying. I think you're saying different things, and I agree with both. But I guess I wanted to be clear. Do we have an understanding of what the change of use would require versus what you think you're providing currently? Part of this is just the site is kind of strange physically.
Right.
So on its face, I can't look at it and say like, okay, there's 3 parking spaces there. Right. I'm not really sure.
Right.
So that's what I was asking. How many cars are we talking about here to fit versus what we think a convenience store will bring?
Actually.
Right.
I think I understand the question. I'm not entirely sure how to answer it. I mean, how much traffic do you anticipate? I mean, as much as possible, obviously.
Right.
Would be the ideal.
Ideally, right?
What's the question? So, do you have any idea what kind of turnover, what kind of traffic you're gonna have? Foot traffic or otherwise?
How many people are gonna come to the
Yeah,
shop?
yeah.
Because you have another store, well, another
Yeah.
smoke shop. But I figured you're in a unique position. to
I
be
had,
able to-
yes, sir. I had a convenience store before, Sharon Hill. And I would think at the beginning, around like maybe 30, 20 customers a day.
Is that all?
At the beginning, then I'm gonna work up to like 40 customers a day after a year.
Do you know could you estimate how long each of those customers is on the premises when they come to visit the store?
How long they're gonna stay in the store?
Yeah,
I would say like 5 minutes,
okay. So it's
because I'm not gonna sell them food. It's just little supermarket, like juices, chips, and snacks. Then 5 minutes they're gonna stay in the store.
they're not doing a full shopping order, they're grabbing
Yeah,
convenience
quick,
items.
not convenience store. Yeah.
Grab and go.
What about folks that come for phone repair? They
The
typically
phone
drop it
repairs,
off?
they have to drop it off, come back like an hour and a half,
Okay.
2 hours.
So they're not typically waiting for something like that?
No, they can't wait and stuff. Because they took like hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes, sometimes the whole day.
Is phone repairs captured within the convenience store use?
I think our uses are defined that specifically.
Oh, okay. I just never heard that combination, so that was a.
It is a unique combination.
I assume there wouldn't be any food items such as, well, hot food or, for that matter, chickens,
No, sir,
poultry?
no.
Like live chickens?
Hmm.
Fried chicken? Fried chicken?
Yeah, there's no plan for live chicken.
No, no, sir.
Oh,
Do you know if this, because I know it was the dry cleaners before, and I assume, right, it's not, it's, the dry cleaner uses at this point ended, or is it still operating as a dry
It
cleaner?
is not operating
Okay.
anymore, but the signage still indicates,
It's there.
Oh,
last
okay.
use was as a dry cleaning.
Hazardous materials or anything left over with that? Is that anything that you?
What's inside the store?
The materials belong to the laundry.
Okay.
I mean, only a little bit left, like they have a couple.
Obviously, before you begin to operate, you'll need to remediate any.
No, I mean, it's the same thing, just take the stuff out and just, I'm not gonna change nothing in the store.
No, right, but I'm saying you'll have to properly dispose of any chemicals that are on site. Are there chemicals on site?
No, no.
Oh, there's not?
No, no, no
Oh, okay,
chemicals,
all right.
no.
I thought you were saying there were things still, there's not.
Like product, for
Is there
example.
dry cleaning?
Items?
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
but is there cleaning materials there? Are there chemicals that they would have used for cleaning there?
No.
That's been removed?
That's been removed, everything.
All right, so it's just fixtures and things that remain,
Yes.
and that will have to be removed?
Mhm.
Okay.
You got where I was. Yeah. I don't know.
so any other questions in the board? So I have more of a question for council.
Yes,
Since the applicant is requesting an interpretation that the existing commercial use is, I don't think, I mean, the board gets to decide. I don't think there's a issue with it being legally existing non-conforming, but
Change in use?
change in use. So under our code, I'm assuming you've reviewed the table under section 8 that shows that retail convenience store and dry cleaning facility are two separate uses under our code, correct? So although they are both non-conforming commercial uses, it is still a change in use. Would you not agree?
I do agree, although I believe that it's a less onerous use.
Okay.
And I did anticipate that question, and I do believe it is a less onerous use. I mean, obviously, I think there's more potential for harm to the community in the dry cleaning business where they are using chemicals on premises. I think this is more of a relaxed use.
And I would assume that the property in the R3, which is predominantly, if not exclusively, residential uses, that this particular property is not suited for a residential use.
It's really not. I mean, it was constructed for commercial use and has been continuously used.
Yeah.
And it's not suitable for,
Conversion.
say, a private recreational facility or a school facility or some type of religious assembly hall.
Our position is that it is not.
I'm also going to assume it's not suitable as a hospital or a cemetery.
It is not.
Okay.
Fire company's right down the street.
All right. Those were all the questions I had.
Thank you. I appreciate those questions.
Yeah, and I mean, I tend to agree with you that the proposed use is probably a lesser impact use. I don't know if I agree that that means that it's not a change in use for the purposes of non-conformance. Unfortunately, I don't think the zoning code is that malleable, but I definitely agree it's a lesser impact, I think.
Any other board questions? Would the chair like to ask for public comment?
Is there any public comment? Okay. There being none, no public comment, I like to ask for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
So I'm going to ask for before the second comes in, a point of clarification. Is the motion to approve as a variance? There's a question of interpretation and then a request for variances. Is the motion to approve the variances or to agree with the interpretation?
Variances.
Thank you.
Can I get a second?
Oh, I'm sorry, a second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, your application's been approved,
Very good.
and you will receive a notice in 45 days.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Have a good night. Thank you for patience.
And we'd like to make a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Why?
Good night, Bridget. Oh, no.